U.S. President Barack Obama's official state visit to Laos in early September 2016 was the first ever visit by a sitting American president to the small Asian country, which this year chairs the rotating Asean presidency. In Laos, President Obama left a message for his successor, but future U.S. aid for Laos remains uncertain. Our news team prepares the following report. As the chair of ASEAN, the 10-member regional bloc, Laos in early September 2016 hosted the 28th and 29th ASEAN summits and related summits, including the ASEAN-US Summit and the East Asia Summit, with President Obama attending the latter two. According to the leading English newspaper in the country, Vientiane Times' latest update on September 17, 2016, by Successor Van Gaal. During his visit to Laos, the last leg on a tour of Asia, the American president announced he would double annual financial assistance for the clearance of unexploded ordnance, or UXO, to $30 million a year over the next 3 years, totaling $90 million. Cooperation projects and assistance in other fields were also pledged. Following bilateral talks with Lao President Bunyang Vorachit, the leaders agreed to develop the relations between Laos and the United States into a comprehensive partnership.
I also know that the remnants of war continue to shatter lives here in Laos. Many of the bombs that were dropped were never exploded. Over the years, thousands of Laotians have been killed or injured. Farmers tending their fields, children playing. The wounds, a missing leg or arm, last a lifetime. And that's why, as president, I've dramatically increased our funding to help remove these unexploded bombs. As a result, Laos is clearing more bombs, fewer Laotians are being hurt or killed, and together we are saving lives. But there is still much more work to do. So today I'm proud to announce a historic increase in these efforts. The United States will double our annual funding to $90 million over the next 3 years to help Laos expand its work.
In his remarks delivered to the Lao people at the National Culture Hall on September 6, President Obama stated 6 times that the U.S. wants to be Laos partners, saying, "We want to be your partner."
The best way to deliver progress for all of our peoples is by closer cooperation between our countries. And that's why today, the United States and Laos have agreed to a new comprehensive partnership to guide and deepen our relationship for years to come. Our partnership recognizes that the Lao People's Democratic Republic is an independent, sovereign nation. The United States does not seek to impose our will on Laos. Rather, we seek a relationship based on mutual respect, including respect for your independence and your sovereignty. Our new partnership will continue to deal with the painful legacy of war.
He added, "Given our history here, I believe that the United States has a moral obligation to help Laos heal." So what was the message he wanted to say? Observers noted that President Obama, who is set to step down in the next few months, wanted to send a clear message to his successor that the U.S. is obliged to continue to provide greater and long-term assistance to Laos, especially when it comes to the clearance of UXO dropped on Laos by U.S. warplanes during what Obama called the secret war. It is thought that Obama is the first president to openly admit that over 9 years of war from 1964 to 1973, which in Laos is referred to as the Indochina War, the United States dropped more than 2 million tons of bombs on Laos, more than the U.S. dropped on Germany and Japan combined during all of the World War II. This made Laos, with 1 ton of bombs dropped per person, the most heavily bombed country in history. Most Americans have no idea that nearly 1/3 of Laos is littered with UXO left over from the war, hidden from the public and never authorized by Congress, wrote Brett Deakins, chair of Legacies of War, in an article published in The Diplomat.
I want to make it clear to the American people and to all the world that all we want in Laos is peace, not war. A truly neutral government.
Obama's visit put Laos in the global spotlight, providing opportunity for the world to learn how Laos has been suffering over the past 4 decades since the war ended in 1975, with UXO continuing to kill and maim tens of thousands of civilians ever since.
The days pass
About
slowly.
30% of the more than 80 million bombs dropped failed to detonate and have killed or injured at least 20,000 people. Farmers carrying out their daily routines and children playing on the ground appear to be the most vulnerable
และ
victims.
ระเบิดบ่ทันแตกชนิดอื่นๆจำนวน 22,000 คน
A number of people involved in UXO-related accidents are disabled and are unable to help themselves, adding to the burden carried by their families who are mostly impoverished. The UXO that remained buried across large areas of the country also impedes socio-economic development and threatens food security.
My son was responsible in looking after the house and watching over the buffaloes. In 1983, he and his friend went to the forest one day looking for food. They came across what they thought was a piece of fruit. They tried to open it. It exploded. It killed my son and injured his friend.
According to a joint UNDP-Lao report, at least 200,000 additional hectares of land could be made available for rice production if cleared of UXO, Brett Deacon wrote in The Diplomat. Realizing the serious danger of the cluster bombs, locally known as bombies, Laos has been an active global player in campaigning for an end to the production, stockpiling, and use of cluster munitions. The Lao People's Democratic Republic became the second country of state party to the Convention on Cluster Munitions, which prohibits a state party from using, developing, producing, or stockpiling cluster munitions. In 2010, Laos hosted the first meeting of states parties to the convention. In the same year, supported by the development partner and donors, the Lao government adopted the UXO issue as Laos' local 9th Millennium Development Goal with certain targets set, including clearance of the deadly devices. But clearance activities fell far short of the target, hindered by financial constraints and a shortage of sophisticated equipment. Since clearance work began in 1996, only 2% of about 87,000 square kilometers of contaminated land has been cleared. At the current rate of clearance, it will take a century for Laos to clear all the UXO.
We would urge Congress to work with us on.
U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications Ben Rhodes said during the Sunnylands U.S.-ASEAN Summit in February that old U.S. bombing records and technology to better map the contaminated areas would be used, giving the U.S. confidence the problem could be solved. But a smart move would be to introduce drone technology in the detection of the millions of tennis ball-sized bomblets scattered across the country. Laos currently uses handheld World War II-era technology. Former UNDP resident representative to Laos Minh H. Pham wrote in an open letter to President Obama prior to his Laos visit, published in the Straits Times. In contrast, a drone equipped with a sensor can scan kilometers in a day, not meters, Mr. Pham added. Undoubtedly, the greater U.S. engagement announced by President Obama brings hope that the effort to rid Laos of UXO would be expedited. However, future U.S. aid for Laos remains uncertain once the assistance package announced by President Obama is phased out. The Lao people hope that his successor will learn about Obama's message and follow in his footsteps, recognizing that the U.S. has a moral responsibility to heal the dark legacy of the war and provide substantial assistance to remove the bombies so that Laos civilians can live without fear.
People of Laos, this is also about the ability to make a good living. In communities that rely so much on agriculture, you can't reach your potential on land that is littered with UXOs.
Today, several 100,000 people of Lao origins or Lao Americans are living in the U.S., and these blood ties will promote the new comprehensive partnership and spur the clearance of UXO in Laos, as well as overall development.
One more.